Hi everyone, and welcome to this YouTube video all about choosing a terrestrial research assistant expedition. So for many of our volunteers, they are particularly interested in our terrestrial only expeditions. And there are a few elements that you're going to want to have a think about when ultimately deciding which site and which expedition is best suited to yourself. Now, you might have a specific area of research or a specific habitat that really interests you. And normally this is a really good first question to ask yourself when you're starting to narrow down your choices. Second thing you're going to want to have a think about is the length of your expedition. So how long are you going to go away for? And then obviously you're going to want to consider whereabouts in the world it is you would like to go, which is arguably the most exciting aspect. What this video is going to do is break down some of these elements for you in a little bit more detail and give you an overview of the different terrestrial sites that we have on offer at Opwell to hopefully help you narrow down your choice. Now, for many of you, your interests might be quite clear, and therefore it might be relatively easy to choose which expedition to go on. You might be interested in a specific habitat, for example. So if you're really fascinated in cloud forest ecosystems, you're going to want to head to our Honduras site. There might be an animal that you've always dreamed of seeing. So for example, if you'd like to see a lemur, our Madagascar expeditions are best suited to yourself. If you really want to see an elephant and you love megafauna, then you're probably going to want to head over to South Africa. For others, you might just have a broad interest in terrestrial ecology. And so hopefully by watching the rest of this video, you'll be able to find some unique points in each of the countries that you actually find specifically interesting. Next thing to have a little think about is the length of your expedition. So we have 2, 4 and 6 week options available for our terrestrial only trips. You'll want to have a little think about what it is that you want to achieve and therefore how you can make the most of your time. So a 2-week expedition is going to give you a real good taster of field research, and it's going to give you enough time to gain a brief introduction to the Opwell program and meet the researchers and gain some practical experience on site. 4-week expedition is obviously going to expand on this knowledge, and it's going to give you time to join the surveys that you enjoy the most, okay? And it's going to give you a broader knowledge of the local taxa. Obviously, a 6-week expedition is an even more immersive experience, and it might give you a chance to collect some data for yourself. Obviously, this is where factors such as cost and dates and how long you can get off work, for example, are also going to come into play. So having a look at this world map, you can see that we've got 6 terrestrial sites dotted all over the world, from Mexico to Madagascar. What I'm going to do is take each of these countries in turn and just tell you a little bit more information about them. So first off, we have our Honduras site. So here it's one main terrestrial site in Casuco. We have the Casuco base camp, which is shared tents with camping toilets and showers. And then you'll also go off to various satellite camps. And here it's also shared tents or individual expedition hammocks. And I must say, some of my best sleeps have got to have been in hammocks, actually. So Casuco National Park is a site rich in endemic and endangered species, but it's really threatened by unchecked illegal deforestation. So Casuco National Park is one of the top 50 most irreplaceable protected areas in the world. And this is based on data produced from Opwell survey teams, actually. It's also one of the top 25 most irreplaceable protected areas for amphibians. In Honduras, you'll be able to explore this amazing cloud forest ecosystem full of endemic species. First week is kind of spent completing a jungle survival course where you'll have lectures and practicals in neotropical forest ecology. After this week, you'll then be able to join the largest group of forest researchers at any of the Opwell sites. The projects here include measuring forest structure and carbon content of the forest, light trapping for moths and jewel scarab beetles, mist netting, and soundscape surveys for bats, and also camera trapping. So this site, as I mentioned, it's the largest number of forest research scientists, and it's the most published research site in Honduras. The data sets collected by the OPAL teams are being used to make an application for funding through a carbon credit scheme and for a UK government grant for conservation of this region. Funding obtained in this way will then be used to manage and protect the park and the many unique species it supports. So if you're really interested in endemic species, cloud forest ecosystems, and getting involved with a wide array of research, then Honduras is a really good place to go to. So the next site to tell you about is our terrestrial site in Mexico, which is based in Calakmul. So here it's shared tents with dry toilets and showers. So the Calakmul Biosphere Reserve is a UNESCO World Heritage Site of culture and nature, and it's part of the largest expanse of neotropical forest north of the Amazon. It's filled with ancient Mayan ruins, and it supports one of the highest biodiversity levels in the world. It's also a really important wildlife corridor for migrating birds and mammals. So at our Mexico site, there's a huge range of various projects. A lot of our monitoring data is actually used to evaluate the impact of climate change and changing rainfall patterns on the abundance, ranging, and diversity of fauna to help determine when and where mitigation should be used to restore water sources. So it's a really great site to go to if you're wanting to have a look at the direct impacts of climate change and how we are researching this and trying to mitigate and find a solution. Up next, we have our terrestrial site in Croatia, which is based in the beautiful Krka National Park. Here we have both dorm and tented accommodation available at the research centre, both with shared bathroom and toilet facilities. So the Krka River Valley is an endemic rich site located within Mediterranean biodiversity hotspot. Key fact here is that the river running through the valley contains 9 Croatian and 3 Krka endemic fish species, so it is a really exciting place to explore in Europe. The National Park Authority have requested that we perform baseline surveys to increase the known inventory for the park, as well as collect long-term monitoring data to answer a series of their management questions. One of the amazing things about the Croatia site is you would have the opportunity to explore some of the spectacular cave systems there, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. And these caves contain a number of potentially new species to science. So the surveys you'd be joining are standardized monitoring surveys designed to provide long-term data on the different faunal groups there. We also have a series of investigations to describe population densities and the ecology of groups such as moths and the Hermann's tortoise. So the next site to tell you about is our terrestrial site in South Africa. So here we actually have 2 different sites, one in the Gondwana Game Reserve and one in the Dino King Game Reserve, both of which are large shared tent facilities within a fenced compound inside the reserve. So obviously our South Africa site is the site with the most abundant terrestrial megafauna, and you'd have the opportunity to work on foot in a Big 5 reserve. So when we say Big 5, we're referring to the African lion, African elephant, Cape buffalo, African leopard, and the rhinoceros. So you'd be able to perform research in one of the most endangered biodiversity hotspot regions in the world. What we're doing here is we are working with our partners, Wildlife and Ecological Investments, to assist the conservation managers with pressing large-scale issues that they don't necessarily have the resources to address themselves. So you'd have the opportunity to work with local guides and collect data to help inform local reserve management. So obviously, if you're interested in megafauna, this is the best site for you to go to. Up next, we have our Madagascar terrestrial site, which will be in its 13th year of running in 2023. So here at the camps, it is shared tents with field toilets and bucket showers. Obviously, there are huge levels of endemism on Madagascar. In fact, 90% of all animals and plants found on Madagascar are endemic to the island. So this is a brilliant site to go to if you are interested in endemic species. It's also a brilliant site to go to if you're interested in lemurs because they are found only on Madagascar. Pictured here is a sifaka. We are doing surveys looking at the diurnal and nocturnal opportunistic lemur routes, as well as doing some mark release recapture of mouse lemurs. Madagascar is also a great site to go to if you are interested in herpetofauna. We're having a look at chameleons and geckos, and also some crocodile spotlighting too. A lot of the forests in Madagascar are community owned and managed. Fortunately, only 10% of the original forest coverage remains, so Madagascar is in urgent need for conservation. What the Opal teams are doing is helping to monitor how the forest structure and biodiversity in these community managed forests are changing over time in order to try and identify whether the management strategies in place are viable alternatives to formal protected areas in terms of protecting biodiversity. So obviously Madagascar, brilliant site to go to for endemic species. You'll also have some local community integration here and a real cultural experience on this trip. So the final site to talk to you about is our site in the UK, which is based at the Knepp Estate in West Sussex. So this 3,500 acre estate is being returned to a pre-human habitat by almost completely abandoning human intervention in the management of the landscape and allowing fields to revert to natural vegetation. So here we have ecology survey techniques and data analysis courses, which are going to provide you with field skills for wildlife management careers. So we have 1 week courses where you'll gain just baseline field skills, or we have 2 week courses where you'll gain field skills, data analysis, and some specialist survey skills. These courses are aimed at helping you to progress with a conservation career in the UK, and they are the only expeditions to conduct rewilding surveys. And in fact, the Knepp Estate is Britain's premier and most famous rewilding site, so it is a brilliant place to learn about UK-based ecology and rewilding projects. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it informative and helpful, and it's hopefully helped you to narrow down which terrestrial expedition to go on. For more information, follow us on social media. The links are on the page here, or you can always give the office a call or drop us an email. Thank you.